Okie dokie. Start. All right. Picture in pictures. The idea here is pretty simple. It is taking pictures and layering them on top of each other to create a new picture. We see this already all the time in a lot of the art that we see every day and we just don't pay attention to. This right here is a picture of an advertisement I got from, I think it was Costco. Yes, Costco sent me this pretty card in the mail that is pictures on top of pictures layered to create a beautiful advertisement. You've got the speckled parts in the back, the glass, and the lemon. And when you open it up, they carry it on inside to have your pattern and your pictures. And they even put some font in here.
It's very small. All I see on my screen is, it looks like your files. You know, little tiny
okay, let's
pictures.
So you don't see the big one. Okay.
Nope.
No. All right. Let's see.
Maybe if you clicked on it, I don't know.
Yeah, on mine it is full size.
Oh no, all I see is what looks like your picture, and then it's collage class, and then there must be
yeah, so
20 of them on there.
let's see. Is it going? Can you see it now?
Did you click share screen down at the bottom? There's an advanced option. If you select that, you can select content from second camera.
Oh, okay, so that might be the problem. Hold on one second. Share screen. Oh, now I'm stuck.
Oh my gosh. Oh no.
So, all right, share. Can you see it now?
Go. Perfect.
There you go. Okay, awesome. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Mine did not have advanced options.
Oh, you weren't special.
No, I was not special. So, all right. So we have the card with its layers. When you open it up, you've got your pictures, your background pattern, and your words.
Yeah.
The idea of picture in pictures is to copy that same concept, but with your own material. Okay? So here are some examples that I've done. This one was an advertisement from a Halloween magazine. Right here, there was some words that I didn't want to be part of the picture. So I cut off some of the rest of the advertisement and I shaped it perfectly to cover up the ad words that I didn't want. Now it looks like its own picture, but not an advertisement. These were, as I mentioned a little bit before, sometimes you can take pictures and create abstract, fun pictures that aren't necessarily advertisements. So for example, this one was a garden, and it's a little hard to see. Sorry, I don't have better pictures. I took themed pictures of a ladybug, some blackberries, and a lotus, and combined it with a picture of this gardener to create a garden scene. This here's theme was aliens, so things that looked alien to me. And you post them together, and you get a very interesting insight into where pictures make my mind go, the emotions that they bring forth, and just how creativity happens. This gentleman here looks a little like a younger version of my husband. So I ended up doing things that remind me of my husband. He likes sharks and the beach and pterodactyls, and it ended up becoming a memory card about my husband using other people's pictures. Then there are times when there are events happen that we want to remember, but we don't always have the words that give us the same emotions. So these were pictures that came out of a magazine that really kind of remind me of what it's like to live in this moment. Each picture reminds me of something different. They would give somebody else a different point of reference, but for me, they bring forth memories. So you've got celebrities doing goofy things, and the volunteer work, our essential workers, what it's like to go shopping right now, the family sacrifices that we've made. All of these things came out of a magazine that were different pictures that I've cut, placed together, and I found the perfect little word bubble to put in there. So what we're going to do is take this basic concept and create our own works. And the first part of the presentation is I'm just going to show you how I've taken really random materials and made a picture. Sometimes you can have a specific theme, like this one, the theme is going to be the holidays, Christmas, and find similar pictures you can combine to make, in this case, for me, I consider it a Christmas postcard. All of these are just advertisements that I got out of Martin's catalog. And the actual cardstock that I used, because what you're going to do is you're going to have one piece of material that is thick. So not necessarily cardstock, but you want something with a little bit of weight to it so that it can sustain the glue that you're going to put on top of it.
I've got a cereal box.
That is perfect. This is just an advertisement that came in the mail. It's kind of a not quite a postcard, but a thick piece of paper. And I cut it in half because it was full size and I didn't want to do full size. So I just cut it in half so I could have 2 cards. And it doesn't matter what's on these because you're going to cover them anyways. And sometimes I actually use what's in the background as part of my art. But that's up to you and up to where creativity takes you. So the first thing I did was I took a piece of plain white paper because I did want a plain background. I don't always, but on this one it was so busy, I wanted that. So I took a piece of paper that was bigger than the cardstock that I had and folded it over at the top. So as you can see where my finger is, that's the excess of the white paper that I put down. I folded over and I gave it a good, nice crease. Then, as you can guess, the next step is going to be gluing it. But there was a little too plain for me. So inside one of the advertisements, there was this cool red strip that looked like a candy cane. I pasted that right there at the top to give this entire blank canvas just a little bit of flair. I still have the gray that was on the paper, and I have this. Now, this is my blank canvas that I'm going to create from. This is essentially what it came out to be. These were the pictures that I liked. I cut out around them, and initially, I just put them on top. They are not glued. They are just placed there. You're able to take the pictures that you like and place them, kind of like a puzzle. You can put them in different positions. You can add some in, take some out, and really get a feel for what you like. I knew that I was going to have a center focal point being share the magic. So this was the whole concept of my card. All my pictures around it, I wanted to be on the center point, sharing the magic, the holidays. So I found pictures that I liked that gave me that feel. And I could take them off and I could see how I felt. And I was able to use the pictures themselves to cover things I don't like. So this magic right here, if you look, you don't see anything here that doesn't look like it's supposed to be there. But when you take away share the magic, underneath it is this so easy and yummy.
Okay.
This word, I didn't like it. That's not the feel I wanted to go for. So I used this G to cover it. I placed it just so I didn't have to cut that out. I could just layer on top of layer.
Would it have harmed it if you just cut off the words?
It would not harm it. It was just sort of an extra step. And at this point, I haven't glued anything. So if I cut it and later on I decided not to use it, I can't uncut.
Okay.
So it kind of goes back to that measure twice, cut once kind of concept. So at this point of putting these pieces and playing with them, it's all non-destructive. You don't want to do anything too permanent unless you're 100% sure that you don't want that. I did this cut because there was a bunch of words here that I knew I didn't want, and I wanted the shape of the tree. So this cut was intentional, but I knew I could trim later if I wanted to round this or if I wanted to cut this off. Same with this. I could cut it later, or I might be able to cover it, and the covering it might give me a better look than if I hard lined cut it. So I only cut when I'm positive that I don't want that element in there. If I think I can't cover it, then I cut it. So after I have everything the way I want, and as you can see over here, I forgot to say this picture is bigger than my card, and that's okay, because what I can do is slide it back and forth until I get it to the edge that I want. Because in the next step, and I did it over here too, you're going to cut and fold so that you get that nice edge. And then it looks intentional, like I wanted those to be the edges. So the first step with pictures is just all about placing and tinkering with where you want them to get the picture that you like. I didn't have to place any of these where I did, it's just what I liked. And I layered them on top of each other in a way that hid the things I didn't like and highlighted what I did like. So then, sometimes, it's all about the picture itself. I loved this magazine cover. I didn't like how they cut off the neck of the giraffe, and I didn't like how they put that over there. So I knew I couldn't use this by itself. I would have to in some way edit this in order to save this picture. So I used Collage to do it. Knowing that this right here was going to be my background, I felt that I could do a jungle theme. So I started looking through advertisements for things that gave me jungle feeling, flowers, plants, and I found some in the most random of places. This is an Avon catalog. It was a Mother's Day, and they had some of these pretty flowers. So I did a hard cut around them, giving myself good edges as much as I can, so that I could turn these into sort of puzzle pieces in my greater picture. I can always trim them down, but I can't glue back to them. So wide edges, and I cut them out. And I started to tinker and place them next to my giraffe. At this point, nothing is glued. I am just seeing if I like the colors, if they complement each other. Do these look like they could be in the same world? If they don't, then I cast them aside and I save them for another time. Sometimes the edges can throw me off. And I know that I'm going to trim them, but sometimes I don't always know where. So I can use things like my ruler to give me a straight edge so that I can see what it would look like as a finished picture without actually cutting it. Because at this point, too much cutting does not help you. So don't be afraid to use a piece of paper, a ruler, piece of cardboard, whatever you have around, if you need to cover up what you don't like, because you can layer something on top of it or you can trim it. After the flowers, I knew that I wanted some green, lush vegetation. So I started looking through catalogs for any type of vegetation, whether they were grass or this is a piece of lettuce, anything that matched the feel I wanted. And I cut them out, giving me the widest edges that I could. In this one, there was a product that I had to cut out and around that, but it ended up being the same shape as the giraffe itself. So I lined that up to see how it would look. This kind of had that same line about it. It just looked good, so I put it there. And I started playing with the corners. At this point, I'm just trying to cover up the white. Using the same magazine cover, I had a bunch of this basic yellow. I thought to myself that the giraffe has this pattern to it. Why couldn't I copy that with the yellow around it? Cut out all the words that I didn't like on that original magazine cover and give them a giraffe type feel. So I tinkered and played with the pieces, trying to get them to cover up the white that I didn't want and create a cohesive picture. At this point, still nothing is glued down. It is all just little pieces that I am assembling to create a bigger puzzle when the time comes. Now, when it actually came, you'll see that I kind of shifted some of the pieces around when it came time to gluing, just to make it easier to glue. I cut some, I rounded some, but in the end, when I liked a composition, I used a glue stick and I glued them all down. I still have this rough edge at the bottom because from here, I could put words, I could trim it, I could frame it, I can do whatever I want down here when inspiration strikes me. But I saved that picture of the giraffe that I loved and I took out all the words that I didn't. So I created a picture out of somebody else's magazine cover, but now that picture is my own. And that's just the finished project after it dried. That's
I can't remember, Sid. Did the giraffe have leaves in his mouth or did you add them?
That was in there originally.
Okay,
I
cool.
can go all the way back for you.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see them.
I just cut off right there at the end of the white line with the words. I cut that off and that ended up being the very top of my picture. So I lost all of this up here, but I ended up using this as part of covering up what has been cut out for the words, like over here. And
yep, cool.
But I removed all the text and created a different picture. And it captures the same sort of curiosity that I liked in the giraffe, but now it's my own picture that I wouldn't mind hanging on my wall. I don't want to have an advertisement for Charles Schwab on the wall.
No.
Sometimes I get really pretty envelopes and stuff in the mail, and I absolutely love the patterns on them. And this is one of them. I just love this pattern, and I wish that I could do something with it. So this collage hobby lets me do just that. This is just a piece off of a cupcake box that I have. And I was thinking, all right, I need a good bookmark. That's what I'm going to do. I took this little cardboard piece and I laid it on top of this pretty pattern in the biggest section without words that I could. And I traced it. You can't see the tracing, but I took a pen and I traced it. Then I cut it out and glued it on top. Now, I did glue it at this point because I knew this was going to be my base that I was going to build from. And it is helpful to glue a base as soon as you know, because then when you go to start putting your pieces on top, you don't have to worry about shifting your base. The one thing I didn't like is in mailing, this little imperfection here was going to bug me. So I went out looking for something that looked like it could be in the same world as my pretty picture that would fit right on top of that. I found this cute little heart in a magazine. So I cut it out and I placed it on top to see how it would fit. Now this little heart could go one of two places. It could go on the back, so I could have it two-sided, or it could go and cover up that imperfection right there. So I put it in both places to see which one I liked better, on the back or in the front. In the end, I ended up liking it right there on the front. But now that I was already thinking about the back, I decided I wanted to do something to the back. Using scraps from the envelope again, I cut out the biggest pieces of pattern without words that I could and placed them on the back. And one of the most useful things about magazines is if you have a lot of the same magazine, we have a subscription to the Rolling Stone magazine. Sometimes you will find advertisements that are for the same product in several different months, and they will have different words, slightly different variations on it, but it's the same font, it's the same background as the heart. It's just a different word. So I was able to use that on the back, and it still looks like it's from the same world and the same feel, so that now my bookmark looks cohesive on front and back. Now, the big fun one. This was the big project that I haven't teased, but I'm excited to do. One of my favorite things to do is to make greeting cards. Greeting cards are either incredibly expensive or, in my opinion, very unoriginal. So I like to personalize greeting cards for the people that I am sending them to. And I absolutely love to recycle. This right here is a box from a box of cookies. Okay? So what I did is I took this box and I disassembled it. I just undid the glue with my finger and opened it up. I trimmed off the little tabs, which later on I use for bookmarks and other little things if they're good sized. But I trim them off and I get me this solid section here of what is essentially cardstock. And I pair it up with an envelope. I have random envelopes all around my house that come from I don't know where, but somehow they just appear. So I take an envelope that I have that doesn't have a card and I put it up to my box. Using it, I am able to perfectly size the card that will fit inside the envelope. So I line it up and I put a mark right about here, just a little shorter than the envelope, so that it's able to fit inside. Then with scissors, or if you decide to do this as a hobby and you're going to spend a lot more time on it, my favorite thing is my paper cutter. Some people call them a guillotine cutter. And it does a nice clean line right on that edge, all the way down. But you can also do that with scissors. You can do that with a ruler. You can put that there and do an X-Acto knife or a pair of scissors that you open up and just slice it right down and get a really clean line straight down that piece of cardboard. So that in the end, it looks like this. I trim it just a little to give myself good edges that I like. And now I've turned a cookie box into what's going to be a greeting card. These are my little pieces to recycle, and this is my piece to work on. Now, I actually really like the color of this box, but I don't like the writing and I don't like the nutritional facts and all that. I don't want that on there. So I've seen enough greeting cards to know that sometimes you can have the front cover be shorter than the back cover, and it's considered artistic. So what I did is folded right there along that line, so that I can trim off this section right here that is my nutrition facts and completely get rid of it, which you will see in this next one. And I just trim it right off. Now I've taken the ugly nutrition facts off, and I've got this, which is going to be the inside of the card, and this is going to be the cover. The only fancy thing that I ever buy is occasionally I will buy paper, either scrapbook paper, cardstock paper, whatever randomly I find that is on clearance in the craft store. This is just a piece of green polka dotted paper that was in one of them, and it matched the color on the back of the box enough that I thought, all right, that works for me. So I took my sheet of paper and I went with it. I traced the card. I opened it all the way up. So I opened it so it's completely flat, and I traced it on the white side of it so that I don't have marks on the colored side I'm going to use. And then I cut it. After that, my inside, I'm going to take a glue stick. I prefer glue sticks, but you can also use bottled glue, Mod Podge, any sticky substance that you like that will adhere to the material. Sometimes if it's really smooth material, you will have to try different types of glue, but glue stick is by far my favorite. So I start by gluing one side of it. So I put all the glue on this, which is going to be the back side, and I line up my cardstock, and I use a ruler right where the edge is. That's going to be where it folds over. So where you close the card, that crease is going to be the hardest crease to do in a card. I fold that over a ruler so that I can get a nice crease before I fold this over and glue it. Because if you glue these two together before creasing that, your card is going to buckle. So getting that increase in there will help you so that your paper is not too small and doesn't fold in on itself. So when making a card and covering it, always crease it before gluing both sides. Then, as you can see, because of that crease, I have a little bit of white that folds over now, which that is fine. It is always better to have too much than not enough. Because now, in the next step, I can trim that off, or I can go with it. Now, I left it alone until the end because who knows, I might like it there. So I leave that for a finishing step, but it is just there as an overlap from the inside of the card. Okay? Now, I am looking at the front of my card here, and what I don't like is this. I want to turn this into something that I want it to say. I like the cookies, but I don't like the text. So using this same cardstock that I have here, I put it on top, and this requires a little bit of practice. It's a little like when we were in kindergarten and preschool and we started to learn tracing, and they used to have those light up boxes sometimes that would help you trace. It's a little like that. I kind of half-heartedly draw the edges of the box and try to predict the area in here that I want to cover. And I do that by holding it here, picking this edge up, drawing a little bit, placing it down, back and forth, getting as close to the edges as I can. Now here I've got this edge and I was going here, so I know I need to adjust that. So I do that in the next step. But, oh, oops, skipping ahead. But I keep going back and forth, trying to duplicate that same edge that's here. So I am trying to get a box that looks exactly like that. If you have a light box to put underneath it, that'll make that a whole lot easier. Otherwise, just a little bit of practice can get you there. So now I've got the back of the card. Okay, I don't like this at all. And the back of the card is by far less important. But if I'm giving it to somebody, I like to make it nice and clean. You have a couple different choices. You could put a piece of regular paper on it and just cover it. But this was such a dark green that it kept showing through. So what I did is I took a back to a cupcake box, which I'm going to use the unicorn later, and I trimmed it to be the same size as this. I'm going to glue these two together because this green is not going to show up through this white. And on this white, if I wanted to, I could put a cute little message on the back, you know, from the desk of Sydney Patton or from the creative mind, you know, whatever. I can do something cute back there as a final touch, or I can just leave it completely white. But that gives me the option rather than this ugly advertisement that's there now. As far as the front of the box is concerned, the other thing I didn't like was the sizing for the box. It was this net weight 9 ounce and this enlarged. I don't want that. So I want to cover that. I can use the same box, just a little piece of white to do that and give it a white edge right here. So I cut my piece so that it is the same width as the area that I'm working with. But I give myself a good amount of overhang here, and I'll show you why. Because then what we can do is put it to the edge of the table and fold it right there. Now, as you can see, it's not a very crisp fold at this minute. It's just a size fold. It's trying to mark where you are going to fold it over in a second. Because what you're going to do is you're going to fold that on the inside of the card. And you're going to glue it. So there's a line of glue right here. The inside, this overhang flap right here is now on the inside of the card. And at this point, I did not glue the inside. I only glued the top of the card that I wanted to cover. And I put something nice and heavy on top of it. That weight is going to help keep the glue even, and it's going to help it dry faster. I think I let that set for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. It gives you time to cut out some more pictures or do something else. You can push it aside and let it dry. The only problem with doing cardboard on top of cardboard is that they are both thick. So you are going to want to glue your seams very well. To do that, you're going to want to use liquid glue. Peel up the seam just a smidgen and tuck in the nozzle to your liquid glue and just squeeze it in there. Put another piece of cardboard or a piece of paper underneath because sometimes the glue will leak out. You don't want to glue it to your desk. And then put weight right on top of it. Did you have a question, Gail?
No, I was going to say it sounds like a voice of experience, like you might have had that happen once.
No, and it wasn't super glue, I promise. And it was clear and I couldn't see. Oh, it was a mess. So yes, pro tip, definitely stick something under there. And even bigger pro tip, if you can make it something like plastic, like a ruler or something that won't stick to the cardboard, you're even better. Plastic in this case is your friend, or glossy paper is your friend. But this one I did leave for a bit longer. I think I let this set for about a half hour. I went off, I ate a snack, I did something else. Because it is that liquid glue that does take longer. Once all the glue was dry, this was the product that I had. Now, what I intend to do with this is turn it into a cute announcement card. So at some point when I have something fun to announce, I will put in a cheesy little pun right in here. Yeah. And I will have a personalized card that no one else will ever have that I made for somebody else. Then, so that's the basic idea of greeting cards. They're very simple. I can trim this. I haven't yet. but you can trim up, you can clean up, you can make it look. It's obviously not perfect, but it doesn't need to be perfect because it's collage. The back is just solid white. I can write in it. When you open it up, it's just this green print. I can put in fancy words. If I've got another card that I want to take out the words and put it in there, I can write in it. I can draw whatever. Sky's the limit, but now I have a clean canvas to go with. There is another fun thing to do with collage, and we call this the abstract collage. This is a picture of under the sea, so seaweed. I took it and I glued it to a piece of cardstock, the other half of that advertisement that we saw earlier, and I glued it there. This is a really fun one for kids because this is my background. From here, I can create sea creatures and all kinds of fun abstract shapes and designs to create an entire picture of whatever I want it to be. And I haven't done that yet because I was going to do it in this class as my demonstration. And I think that is my final one for this. That is, so let's stop the share. Okay, so that is as far as we've gotten on the examples. Now, that's what you can do. That's the goal, the objective, so on. But how do you do that? What do you use? I have several different out-of-the-box ideas for that. You are pretty much only limited by your imagination and the materials that you find. So, for example, one of my neatest ones that I've come up with is when I was a kid, there were these picture cubes that were all the rage. They were little boxes that had pictures on all the sides.
Yeah.
And they were usually plastic and you slid it in. Well, those are less common nowadays, but they were fun. I bought this little camera and this box reminded me of it. And the cool thing is it has this little tab right here. That's kind of hard to see because it's clear. Yeah, I don't think I can get it. It's just a little clear plastic hanging tab that is actually inside the box. So you can really pull on it and it's not going anywhere. So what I intend to do is take pictures of my kids and glue it all around this box and make a Christmas ornament for my mother, their grandmother. So now it's a little hanging decoration of their past Christmases. So all of our little Christmas cards when they were younger, each side will have a different one. And I'm going to use the same ideas that I did here to do that. And I'm going to put little Christmas pictures on the top and the bottom that aren't my kids, just because those are the sides you aren't going to see. So mixing collage with the pictures that you already have to create a cute little gift.
Now, are you going to put the pictures on the outside of the box,
Yep.
or are you going to put them on the inside?
I am going to do on this one, it's going to be on the outside. I have an inside one that I'll show you in a minute. But this one, I'm just going to actually adhere the pictures. I'm going to use the same concept as the greeting card, and I'm going to trace it and get the pictures to be the same size, glue it on there. And then we're going to talk about finishing methods in a minute. And I'm going to do those. I'm probably going to use clear plastic, maybe tape, but I also have some sheets that go around. And then it'll be adhered, all safe to go on a tree, and it'll be permanent.
Can you make the picture of not you big, but the picture of the little thing we're looking at bigger?
I can't because we're not on screen share anymore, but if you hover over the little blue things,
Blue thing.
you can hit, if you go to my hands, this video, there's three little dots. If you make it blue, you can hit pin video, and it'll make my hands big.
I'm not seeing that I'm on a Windows 10 machine. I have no idea where you're looking.
Okay, let's see. Can you hover your mouse over my hands?
I don't see your hand. All I see is your head.
Okay, go up to the top. Do you see one that says speaker view up by your exit X?
No, the only thing I have way down in my right-hand corner is leave.
Do you see, like, if you move around, do you see 3 dots if you hover over another image in the upper right-hand corner?
I see exit full screen, I see gallery view, and then there's the mute and the stop video and participants.
Okay, let's see.
Select gallery view.
Gallery view. Oh, I see your hands now.
Okay. If I talk, do you still see my hands or does it switch to my face?
No, I still see your hands.
Okay.
I just stopped
all right.
the video, so that should take care of it.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Cameron.
No problem.
All right. So now we're going to go over, since I showed you the cute little project, and I have one more that I'll tease at the end, we're going to show the materials that you can explore the hobby with. So, first one, obviously, are going to be magazines. I have tons and tons of magazines. The Charles Schwab magazines are some of my favorite because they have these big, fun, cartoony pictures and not a lot of words. So I can turn them into something else pretty easily. My husband gets these magazines from his college that oftentimes have really pretty scientific pictures in them that are pretty colors, and they've got great pictures of people. So magazines with good pictures are my favorite item to use. You can use newspaper. The only trick with newspaper is it's kind of flimsy, so you want to be very selective with the glue that you use. Do not use liquid glue. Glue stick will be fine, but liquid glue, it's going to make the paper warp and not look pretty. Advertisements with pretty colors on them. This has got the starry sky. I have comic books and cartoons. Advertisements, anything with a pretty picture. I have, these are old address labels that I have, and I'm not at that address anymore, but they've got pretty pictures of flowers. You can cut those stickers out and use them. Birthday cards, cardstock. We've seen the pretty envelopes that I use. Calendars. Calendars are great because they've got the big pictures and all kinds of seasonal pictures. Catalogs, advertisements. Another fun thing to do with greeting cards is after the holidays, sometimes we feel bad about throwing away cards. So what I do is I take the card and I trace over a fun shape. So this little guy is a snowman. See if I turn off the light, if we'll be able to see him better. Sort of.
Oh, no, you went back to dark Sydney.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Hold on, if I do this.
That's fine.
See a little better here? Just for a minute. Because this guy here is a shape. But what I did is I took the inside of the card and I glued it on the back. Let's see.
Okay, I can see there's words there.
Yeah. So I glued the words. If it's a personalized greeting that somebody signed, you can glue their name and stuff on the back, and then you turn it into a cute little ornament that you can keep forever, that can go on the wall or so on. It's easier to do than a card. So I like to do that with my Christmas cards. Advertisements are my thing. This one is actually a coupon, okay? But what I like is the picture, and It is hard to see, sorry. The picture of the candle,
Okay, yeah.
it's really pretty. So I can cut out around that. And I can cover up the glade and do that. This one has little flowers on it that I like. I'm going to see if I can bring this one down and if it'll work better. Hold on one second. Oops.
Okay, now I can read words sometimes. And there's
One
cake.
second. It's a bit.
There's cake.
There we go. So this is a fun picture because it's got bake up some fun. Now, this season could go either way, but I don't want the Pillsbury. So I can cover up the Pillsbury with a picture of my kid that has a birthday. So if, let's pretend this is a picture of my child. I could put the picture right there, and they can look like they're at a birthday party with the Pillsbury Doughboy.
No, gee.
And you can frame it and have fun, and it's goofy, and it's one of a kind that, you know, no one else is going to say that they had the Pillsbury Doughboy at their birthday party, but my kid will. Then there's also fun character things, like this is a Star Wars advertisement. If you've got a fan that likes Star Wars, or this is Harry Potter, you can save all the million random little things and use the advertisements to create a fun, again, birthday card, memory picture for them that is completely unique to them. No one else will have that. This fun little My Little Pony thing. This is just the advertisement off of a toy box, and I thought it was funny. So at some point, this is going to be glued on some other fun picture to just look like it's being photobombed by an evil unicorn. Because you get to have fun with these. But one of my other favorite things to use that is underappreciated is scraps of wrapping paper. Okay, I don't know when I will ever have a present small enough to use this wrapping paper, but it's
diamond
silvery.
rings.
All my kids' presents are pretty big, so I don't get to do any small ones, and I hate to throw them away. So I save these and I use them as backgrounds for collage. Same with this guy. He's not, see if I can.
No, is
He's
he
not
that
very big.
foil stuff?
Huh?
Is he that shiny, shiny foil stuff that would be hard to glue to?
This guy is, but there is a trick to that. If you know where you're going to glue,
Yeah.
you can scratch it up.
Oh,
So you can take, if you have a Brillo pad, if you have a little piece of sandpaper, if you rough that up just a little, you don't want to rip it, you just want to scratch it up, it can give you something to adhere to. You can also use glue dots that sometimes work better on this thing, on the shiny glossy materials. Glue is something that you kind of have to play with and see what works best for the medium that you are using. And then just more wrapping paper. But the materials are endless. And the general idea, if I've rambled on too long, is taking things that you like and making pictures out of them. The other thing I forgot to share was where I got the cards. So any cardstock in my house becomes collage stuff. This is an advertisement for, I don't know, I think a insurance plan that I cut up into 4s, and it became postcard size. So this is a postcard I got in the mail, very similar in size. That is now going to be turned into collage. Finishing. So you've created this work of art. Now, you will see when you create them that you still get these little edges that can peel up.
Yeah.
Those, if you're going to display this behind glass, are not a big deal. So if you're going to frame it, no big deal. If you are going to have it like on your fridge or something like that, then it is going to be a big deal. So, did I lose my camera?
No, I still see your giraffe.
Yeah, it froze. Hold on, let's see if I did. Oh. There we go. Sorry, I touched something. All right. So these will be behind glass and they don't matter. But this guy right here, he's not going to be. He's going to be in a photo album or a display card, so on. And you can see how my edges peel up. So one of my favorite things to do is in the mail, I can't tell you how many times I get these random plastic covers that come up. They come in charity cards. When a charity place sends you cards, they like to send you these plastic covers. This came inside of a warranty that came with my new iron that I bought. They put their warranty inside a plastic sheet. So what I do is I take the cards and I fit them for the plastic, and I fold them over so that they're nice and they fit perfect, and I tape it on the back. So now I have a plastic casing that protects my collage. The key is to get ones that are big enough to fit your cards and small enough to be useful. Like this guy's pretty big, but he's just too small for this guy, because that's the way that works. But I made really big cards so that they would be able to see. But you can do that with your bookmarks. You can put them in there, cover it, and you just tape it on the back or around the edges. Another thing, you can use Mod Podge, which is a clear glue that'll coat it and give it kind of a thick coating over the top. It's kind of hard to describe unless you've used it. Mod Podge is most common in the collage world, especially if you're doing 3D projects.
Does it dry pretty clear?
It does dry absolutely clear, but it does make it glossy.
Okay.
So the more coats you apply, the thicker and glossier it'll be. I'm on average 1 or 2 coats. It kind of depends on what the item is going to be used for. If it's going to get a lot of abuse, I am not adverse to doing 3 coats. They're thin coats. I apply them usually with a paintbrush, a very fine layer. It dries pretty quickly. But if it's 3D, you have to take your time and do each one and let each one dry before applying the next. If it's relatively small, like, to be honest, this bookmark is small, I would use, if I wanted to seal it, clear tape.
Yeah.
And it'd go right over. You just make sure no bubbles. But honestly, if you glue these, their edges pretty well, like this heart is not going to come up. I have glued the heart well. My problem is the seams around cardboard. So these edges, that's where, I don't know if you can see, they come off.
Oh,
now
yeah.
I could glue that better. That is a matter of finding the right glue and what works for you. But sometimes, again, I will tape, like on this, the back, no one's ever going to see it. So taping it here will hold that. No one's ever going to see it. It's about what works best for you and what you like. This one, I made sure to just glue and really, really glue. The beauty of a glue stick is it dries clear, so it is not going anywhere. I can go like this. That G is not going anywhere. So most projects do not require finishing unless you're going to send them through the mail, and then definitely cover them in tape or plastic for mailing purposes. My final project that I'm really excited about is again using advertisements, because that's my jam, with advertisements. This box has a clear window in it. Okay.
Mhm.
It was the tripod that I got for this class. Oh, I ripped it. Boo. That's okay. I'll fix it. It is the tripod box for this. Okay, so you can kind of see that there's this clear window in here.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can actually cover this box with, I was going to cover it, this is a Nancy Drew comic book thing. You can cover the outside box with this, and then I traced on a piece of paper that window to the perfect shape. Kind of hard to see because it's not very dark, but I have a square that's perfectly, because I used a pencil, not a marker.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put that on top of my drawing and really use that to decide what will get me the most of Nancy Drew in here that can be shown through the inside of the box. So Nancy Drew will be inside the box, and her mourners here will be on the outside of the box, giving it a 3-dimension feel just by doing that. And if you were a Nancy Drew fan, I would imagine you would think that was pretty cool.
Yes.
So it's all about pairing what the person likes with the creative ways that you can use different materials to create really unique gifts or expressions or essentially pictures within pictures. Does that make sense? Are there any questions? Want to try some out?
Do you sit and cut stuff out of magazines while you watch TV? I mean, you must have you can't just go say, gee, I want a picture of an ocean and go hunting for one.
Sometimes it really depends on what for example, if I'm making a gift for my daughter, she loves Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So I might say, okay, I'm going to make her a Harry Potter picture. So I'll go through and I'll find all the Harry Potter stuff I can get, put it together and make a picture that way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I'm going to create, when I did that giraffe, I found a picture of the giraffe, and then I said, okay, well, this is what it reminds me of, and I went and I searched out pictures that fit that. Sometimes if it's a personal card where I'm making expressions of what it means to me, I will find, where'd that card go? Like this one, if it's a memory card, I will save pictures that I find out and about, and I'll save them, and when I get enough, I'll put together a card. But I'm always on the lookout for things that I like. Advertisements, pictures, anything that I think is pretty, anything that strikes me, that I appreciate the artistry that went into it originally, and I think I want to save that, then I do. I never really know where things are going to end up when I save them, but I do know that for some reason they struck a chord. They pulled an emotion that I liked, and I don't want that to be lost. So really, in a way, this is honoring some of the other artistry that's come and putting my own spin on it. But it can also be great for therapy. If you want to express something, sometimes just finding what your eye is attracted to can give you insight into what's going on in your mind. And you'll think, maybe I'm a little stir crazy and I need to get outside. So it can be anything that you want it to be. There is absolutely no right. There's no wrong way. It is what you like, what strikes you, and you just have fun with it. So if I were to do, put this back up here. If I were to do this one, for an example, I would take my card and I would put it on top and I would say, all right, this is my picture that I like. I would trace it. I would cut it out, and then I would spend probably, I don't know, 20 to 30 minutes looking at magazines and different things until I found pictures that completed this picture in my head.
Okay.
So I would, if this is my background, this is what I like, I would glue it to this card. And this is kind of giving me, for example, a Mother's Day feel. So or spring feel. So now I would be on a lookout for something I could put here that would complete this picture of this candle.
Yeah.
I would want to cover this. I don't know what that is. I would just look at magazines until it strikes me. Or if I wanted to combine my own personal pictures, I could put a picture of my grandmother who passed away and who just loved berry scented candles. So it could be a memory that I have of her that now is displayed differently, and a warm memory that I have of her and candles. And then I used to buy her a candle for every Mother's Day, and so on and so forth. Another way to bring forth memories of her. But yeah, no, I rarely know where I'm going when I start. I just let the art take me and roll with it.
I just wondered if you had files full of like oceans and all.
Files full, no, but I can show you. I have this giant bag.
Oh, cool.
Of magazines and advertisements, and anything that I think one day could be collage goes in a bag. And if, for example, I am feeling bored, or I've got a few free minutes, I can sit down, and it doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't require a lot of materials. A glue stick, some scissors, a ruler, and some cardboard, and some pretty pictures, and you're set.